There I am. Hello. Welcome to another Umineko stream. It's Wednesday once again. Time flies. I had a very long day. I'm forgetting a bunch of stuff. 4-day weekend? Nice. I'm gonna have a 3-day weekend soon, so gonna catch up on some sleep, I think, because oh boy, do I need it. Tell you what, I'm gonna go grab something I forgot. Real quick. Lightning fast. And after that, we're gonna do our recap. I'm gonna go over our content warnings, the usual, and then we start the game. Be right back. For some context on why everything is extra scuffed today, I have had maybe 6 hours of sleep in the past 48 hours. I have been at work for almost, well, no, I was at work for a normal amount of time, but travel took like 3+ hours today. And I'm tired. It's okay. I work from home tomorrow, so I can just, get a normal amount of sleep, ideally. And after that, like I said, 3-day weekend. So it'll all be fine. It's just right now I'm like, what day is it? That's it. Hell yeah. I prefer to not work from home all the time. Because you have more, I have to work together with people a lot. And it's just a lot easier to have casual conversations, just check in with people that you run into, that sort of thing. Meet some new people, because I only started my job in September, which isn't that long ago. Like, I have colleagues I've literally never met yet. So if I'm at the office, then, that's much easier. Plus, I like going places, but everything was delayed today, it's one of those days where none of the public transport stuff works as the way it normally does. It happens. Just not great timing with the lack of sleep that I have been having for literally no reason. But it's all good, because today is Wednesday, and that's the day we play Umineko, which is one of my favorite games, or stories, I guess. And my oh my, are we hurtling through it. Because last week, yes, most important day of the week for sure. Last week was huge. We discovered so much. We found out that Kinzo actually met a woman named Beatrice. That she looked basically like in the portrait. To a degree, at least. I think there might have been some embellishment here and there with... Well, we can talk about that later. But he actually met a real person with that name, who, in a sense, gave him 10 tons of gold. A lot of people died for him to end up with that gold. But, the legend is true, if embellished, like I said. It's actually real. The gold is real. It's just, like, basically embezzled wartime gold that was likely, stolen, and people are trying to get away with it, and all that stuff. Kinzo did not look like how you expected. Yeah, it's anime logic, right? Where all the parents and the children all look the same. Like, you're imagining a Balor clone. That was a Balor clone, though. Just grey hair for weird reasons, actually, because he was a bit too young to have grey hair at that age. But he looked like a slightly older Balor. Personally, I expected him to look more different, I guess. Like a little more like, you know, how he looks when he's older. But overall, it's... yeah, I do think there's... like, realistically speaking, they wouldn't look exactly like that. But, like I said, anime logic. And it's also kind of meant as perhaps a parallel to Valor and Beatrice, the other Beatrice, so... anyway, I'm rambling, sorry. Oh, that's true. Kinzo looked a lot skinnier, but I think it's because of the outfit. Because if you kind of mentally overlay their models, their character models, they do have very similar builds. Might even be an identical build, it's just the outfit that makes him look, because it doesn't quite fit, it's a bit too big for him. That's why he looks smaller. That's my theory, at least. But yeah, that's what we found out. Beatrice is real. Kinzo met her, fell madly in love with her. Even though he was already married, but he was married to a woman he didn't love, and that was more of a business transaction in a way. Yeah. She gave him 10 tons of gold in a sense. This whole time he was basically telling the truth in a way, and at the same time lying because he had this second family. And Nanjo helped with that, and they became friends through that. And yeah. That's what we learned last week. And now we're gonna learn some more stuff. And before I go into that, here's our content warnings for this arc. Content warning for character deaths, detailed descriptions of gore and body horror, child abuse, discussion and mentions of incest, discussion and mentions of suicide, and misogyny. It would have been interesting to see a younger Nanjo model, but I bet he would have looked like his son, who we do see in the game. That's the one we run into in episode 4 when I'm just looking around trying to find answers as to what happened to her family. Alright, Leon, what did you sound like again? Right. They sound like... I think... I now understand just how much the woman called Beatrice influenced grandfather's life. We haven't learned anything. Who killed Beatrice? That's what we've got to figure out, or we'll never be able to get out of here. You're right. We need to finish this quickly. The funeral is already over, after all. You've got it all wrong. This is the funeral. You mean, what she's making us do? None of the Beatrices we've heard about so far were killed. We need to change that. Hey. Sorry, Will, I just interpreted that as we need to kill Beatrice, which is, not true. Please don't. That's the real funeral, as far as Burncastle's concerned. No one knows about the killed factor. And that's the truth we're trying to expose? You are perceptive. It hardly feels like I'm talking to a piece from the lower plane. It must be because you were given to me as my Watson. Ouch. Don't call your partner a piece. So, what next, Willard Holmes? The basis of investigation is asking questions. There's still a Beatrice we need to ask about. To indicate who they should talk to next, Will nodded in the direction of George, Jessica, and Maria. Maria seemed to be lecturing the others about something. Wow, Beatrice sounds pretty incredible.
Yeah. And then, inside the upside-down cup, she made tons of candies appear out of nowhere.
Inside the overturned cup? That's wild. Sounds like magic to me. Maria-chan really does love witches and magic. Can't pass up the chance to talk to the authority on witches, can we? If looking for someone to ask about Beatrice, Maria would rise to the top of the list. The Beatrice she spoke of wasn't the real Beatrice spoken of by Kinzo and the others. However, on the Rokkanjima of 1986, the being that the name Beatrice referred to was probably the Beatrice that Maria always talked about. I don't see Battler anywhere. Ushiromiya Battler. The one who was made to fight is Beatrice's opponent in many games, and the most important person in this game, and this tale. A battler in this world would probably be the peace version, but even so, it should be possible to get some vital information out of him. Will probably wanted to talk with Battler too, but he was nowhere to be seen in the cousins group. Battler isn't present at the funeral today. It's a shame, seeing as he's the cousin closest in age to me. Are you two on good terms? Yes, of course. And you pinch his butt every time he says something perverted. Oh, how did you know? Did your detective skills tell you that? Poor guy. Because he sure says a lot of perverted things, especially early on in this story. Burncastle said that everything was gathered here. Since Battler isn't here, that probably means it's possible to find out everything without asking for his side of the story. Or maybe she's intentionally hiding the core elements and making us take the long way around, as part of some fickle witches game. Since he isn't here, that probably means there's no need to hear his story for the time being. Let's talk to Maria and the others. I won't say anything perverted, so keep your hands off my ass. Then why not try choosing your words a bit more carefully? With a roguish smile, Leon pinched the air, index finger against middle. Ah, it's the future heir. Are you done babysitting the old geezer? Good. At least Leon is impartial. No mercy, even for Jessica. Will felt a bit gratified. I see. Since you're both the successor in Krause's child, that makes Jessica your little sister. He was so used to Jessica being an only child that, though the scuffle between the two looked perfectly natural, something didn't feel quite right about it. Jessica, can't you talk a bit more like a little sister's supposed to? And while we're at it, why not try talking more like a girl your age? Also, how many times do I have to tell you to stop calling me future heir?
Cram it. I'll live the way I want to. I'd suffocate if I had to act all refined like you, future heir. Yeek. Ouch. Ow, 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 ow. Stop it, don't pinch me. This is sister bullying. Pervert, stop it. Ow, ow, ow. Jessica, why are you talking like that in front of a guest? Do you want me to get Mother involved again? Oh wow. Big time civil rivalry going on there. Ah, that's one way to put it, Will. Looks like those two are close, in their own special way. Well, Leon is a person of impeccable character, perfectly suited to being the next head. I guess I understand how Jessica-chan feels. Leon might be a bit too perfect sometimes. She gets compared to Leon no matter what she does. So, you think that made her rebel? If Jessica-chan had been born an only child, I'm sure she'd have become a composed, quiet young lady. That's an interesting thought. Don't worry. Only child or not, her personality wouldn't change a bit. Jojo-ni-chan, who's this? This is the first time I've met you, correct? But it sounds as though you know a lot about our family. I'm George, and this here is Maria. Pleased to meet you. Call me Will. I'm investigating Beatrice. I want you to tell me what you know. Oh, she's excited. Beatrice? Ugh. See? Beatrice exists. Ugh. Though Maria had looked hostile towards this unfamiliar man, as soon as she heard the name of the witch she loved pass his lips, her eyes began to sparkle. Hey, Maria-chan. You've got to greet our guest properly. Hello. My name is Ushirimiya Maria. Ooh. I'm glad to meet someone who knows Beatrice. Handshake. Ooh. Maria suddenly stuck out her small hand, and Will reached out for it reflexively. As soon as he did, he felt a bright light seeping out from the gap between their hands. The theater-going power that Burncastle had given him had affected Maria. As a reminder, that means that she has to tell the truth? And I'm gonna drink some tea before we get into this one. Because I'm gonna have to switch between really high-pitched and low-pitched, and it's gonna be rough on the old vocal cords. So if Maria starts sounding like this, then, well, I apologize in advance. But it might happen. At least it's not loud, that's true. Yeah, that's true. You never know with those kids, you know? They grow up so fast nowadays. Beatrice is the witch of the Rokkenjima. She plays with me every time I come to Rokkenjima. She's my best friend and a fellow member of Mariage Sorcière. Ooh. The light grew brighter and brighter. This time, he could feel himself being drawn into Maria's world. I'm Ushiromiya Maria. My mama is Rosa. My papa... I don't have a papa. I think I remember Mama showing me a picture long ago, saying, "This is your papa." It was a picture of a man with a dark suntan, on a beach, wearing a swimsuit. Later on, when I learned what papa meant, I asked Mama to show me that picture again, but she said there wasn't any photo like that. But there was. I drew a picture of it, showed it to Mama. When I did, she got really mad and said that that photo didn't exist, or that if it did, she had already thrown it away. Ever since then, she kept saying that I didn't have a papa.
Did you know? People say you need a papa and a mama to have a baby, but that's a lie.
It's kind of a wild leap to make right there, Will. Not gonna... The virgin birth.
Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. If I was a boy, that might have been my name.
Book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 20.
No, verse 23. Verse 20 is, "But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost."
So, you think your father is the Holy Ghost? That's a big leap to make, Maria.
Everyone said that everyone has a papa. They said it was strange to not have a papa, that I was weird, that they felt sorry for me. But when I asked Mama, she said I didn't have a papa, that he didn't exist. She got mad and hit me even though all I did was ask. So, I didn't really understand who gave birth to me. I was not right as a human, an immature and irregular creature. I realized I was a strange, pitiful girl, different from everyone else.
Just as a reminder for Pride Month. Obviously, you don't need a mom and a dad to have children or to have a family. And single parent families exist. Like, a lot of those exist for for a huge variety of reasons. There's nothing wrong with that. But for the sake of, the story and these two characters, and, Also, this is set in the 80s. I don't know if IVF was... I think that's more of a 90s thing. But, yeah. I also feel... One would hope that she would be a little nicer to Maria if that was the case. But, you never know with people. It doesn't matter who your parents are or what other people say. You are who you are.
It must have been hard to teach that to a young, immature girl. My kindergarten teacher might have said that to me when I cried after being bullied. But even those words of encouragement couldn't fill the blank space. No, the questions. Nothing anyone said could answer the questions in my mind.
And the book is what gave you the answers?
A priest came to see us.
What? Alright. I think his sermon was part of a class to enrich our minds. To most of us kids, it was no different from an ordinary fairy tale a teacher could have told us.
No, it was harder to understand, and I think that made us bored. Then at the end, the priest said something important. That God knows everything.
Yep. So I asked him. I only have a mama. I don't have a papa. Mama gave birth to me without a papa. Is that strange and sad? I asked.
The priest taught me. He said there was nothing strange about a child having no papa. Oh, that's nice, actually. After all, Jesus Christ was born of a virgin. And the one who gave birth to him was the Blessed Virgin, Maria. I was surprised. Maria, the name I was given, was the answer all along.
I was so surprised, I asked the priest to say it again. He said that the Virgin Maria gave birth to a baby by herself. So I asked him if that meant that I could give birth to a baby all by myself too.
And how did he answer that?
He said, the Virgin Maria was with child because of the Holy Ghost. Book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 20, last part. For that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. That surprised me again. What do you think that means?
You interpreted this to mean that Ushinomiya Maria had no human father, that your real father was the Holy Ghost. Regardless of what the Bible actually meant, the young, sad girl who had lost her sense of identity because of her lack of a father had finally created a way to understand herself.
Once I realized that, I knew why I was different from all the other kids. The ones who made fun of me were all children of Joseph, but I alone was different. I wasn't worse than everyone else. I was a child of God, a child of the Holy Ghost. When I got back, I told Mama. I had no papa after all. Mama gave birth to me all on her own thanks to the power of God.
It was probably painful for Rosa whenever Maria asked about her father. Why do I have no papa, when everyone else has a papa and a mama? Every time she was asked this, Rosa flew into a rage and changed the subject. And now, somehow or other, Maria had independently found an explanation that satisfied her. She had no papa. She was the child of Mama and God. It isn't too difficult to imagine that Rosa, after hearing the explanation the young girl had found in the Bible, might have gone along with it as though it were true.
Beato said that the minimum number of people needed to create a world was 2. I thought she meant that you need 2 parents to create a child. That was when I came to a new thought. Beato may be a witch, but she's a witch born of a human. Beato isn't a child of the Holy Ghost. But I'm different. I was born from Mama alone. I was born of the Holy Ghost. Beato can't create a universe without me. But I have God with us. I can make a universe all by myself, along with the Holy Ghost. Beato called me the Witch of Origins, and she also said that eventually I might become a creator who can create anything alone. All by myself, I can create something out of nothing. Beato can take that and make it expand infinitely. Anja was the witch's apostle, who would spread the word far and wide.
Hold on, I have to make myself be quiet. Literally anything I wanted to say in regards to that would be a spoiler. Literally anything about that entire section that Maria just said. All of it Spoiler. Oh my god. Tea, save me. Saying it's a spoiler is not a spoiler if I don't say a single word of what's going on in my brain right now. I feel like. Because at most, all you know now is that there's like either some hint or foreshadowing. That's all you have, but that goes for literally every sentence in this entire story, so hey, just, you know, business as usual. Also, Will, your coat is so cool. Where do I get me one of those? Where do you shop, Will? Anyway. And that was Mariage Sorcière.
There's a huge difference between 1 and infinity. That's why Beato is so great. But compared to the difference between something and nothing, 1 and infinity are both just something. I'm the child destined to become the best witch. No, the greatest creator in the world. Mariage Sorcière was the nest to warm up my egg. I am Ushiromiya Maria. Maria, who stands by God's side.
If we liken Maria's sense of identity to a universe, then this endless stream of words coming from her might be like the Big Bang. She spent so long tormented over how to interpret her lack of a father. Then, by chance, she saw a line in the Bible that seemed to affirm her existence, and she finally formed an understanding of herself. The sad girl, who had hated herself for being different from all of her classmates, finally found her own meaning. At that moment, Maria's universe, which had once been nothingness, was born as a clump of ultra high pressured energy. Then later on, she went to Rokkenjima, met the endless witch who called herself Beatrice, and the clump of energy exploded in a big bang, giving birth to their joint system of magic. That was the universe known as Mariage Sorcière. We're jumping ahead a bit too fast. Let's take things one at a time.
Sure. Where do you want to start?
After you decided that you were the child of the Holy Ghost, it's easy to imagine that you gradually became more and more interested in the occult. And then what? Once you reached that state, where did you meet Beatrice and how did the two of you interact?
It really did happen all of a sudden, one day. I'd wanted to meet the witch called Beatrice, who lived on Rokkenjima. As a fellow witch.
At that time, you already thought you were a witch.
I did. I already knew more about the Bible and the occult than most adults. So, even though I couldn't use magic, I believed that I was a witch. It's a bit funny, isn't it? That's why I'm only a witch apprentice.
When did you meet Beatrice?
I don't really remember when. But I do remember what it was like. It was really, really sudden. Huh?
So, you are Ushiromiya Maria, I presume. It was such a very, very abrupt encounter. I had just been drinking some milk tea
all alone in the rose garden arbor. Mama said that she had to talk about something important with Uncle Kraus, so she told me to go outside and play. Suddenly, she was sitting right there. I didn't know anyone who spoke that way. I quickly realized that she was someone I didn't know at all.
Who are you?
You were the one who first said that you wished to see me. Here I am, welcoming the witch who came to visit my island, and yet you ask my name?
Beatrice?
Precisely. I am Beatrice. Yeah, that is pretty sudden.
Yep. Really, really sudden. Witches and spirits always exist right beside us. They just choose not to show themselves. And when they do show themselves, it's always sudden, as if they've been here the whole time. That's what I learned that day.
And then, you and Beatrice became friends.
Yeah. She stayed and chatted with me the whole time, until Mama was done with her business. We talked about magic and witches, and about how I was a child of the Holy Ghost.
And what was your impression of Beatrice then?
I don't like saying it, but I knew more than she did back then. At first I thought she wasn't a very good witch. Well, that was just my conceit. There are many different systems of magic. Also, mine was based on self-study. I probably only viewed Beato that way because her system of magic was different from mine. It wasn't long before I came to regret that, and apologized.
Apologized? Did Beatrice do something to win your respect? I see. So, she showed you magic. We moved to the beach and talked lots, sitting at a table under an umbrella. Very interesting. Maria, I see you have been quite diligent in your studies. At your age, to be capable of teaching a 1,000-year-old witch such as myself is truly an accomplishment worthy of admiration. And what sort of magic can you use?
Magic?
If you call yourself a witch, you must be able to show me some sort of magic, correct? I was stunned for a second. Of course, it should have been obvious. I was a child of the Holy Ghost, and since I'd studied so much of the occult, I was also a witch, not a human. Until that day, I had been so sure of both of those things. So, when I was asked what sort of magic I could use, it left me in a daze. When one knows of magic and can speak of it, they finally reach the rank of apprentice. One is only a witch if they can put such knowledge into practice and use magic, correct?
So, I'm not a witch yet.
You have studied well, and I can sense a very rare talent within you. One day, you may become a witch so great that even I could not compare. Or perhaps even a creator, as you have told me. However, you are still young and immature. You are... yes, you are an apprentice. A witch apprentice, you might call it.
So, does that mean you can use magic, Beato?
Of course. I could not call myself a witch otherwise.
Ah, incredible. Show me. I want to see your magic.
Until this day, Maria had never doubted the magic-related concept that she was the child of the Holy Ghost. However, no one had ever proven to her that occult phenomena actually existed.
Maria could create a universe all by herself. However, she wanted to share it with a second person, so that she could believe in it even more strongly. In the past, I could have drawn a rainbow in the sky, transformed it into 7 colors of candy, and eaten them at my leisure. However, my power is weakened so much that I cannot even preserve my form as well as I would like.
I just heard about that. You can't use your full power because of the shrine.
It will take quite some time before my power returns. At this moment, I cannot turn rainbows to candy. However, perhaps I can show you a bit of that power with some simpler magic.
I want to see. I want to see your magic.
Very well. However, I must ask for your assistance. As I have already told you, no matter how pure your soul might be, all humans are trained and filled with a toxin that resists magic.
Yeah, I remember. You told me about the anti-magic toxin. It wasn't in any of the books I've read. He must really be incredible to know so much.
Beatrice lifted up an empty teacup, then turned it around in front of Maria to show that there weren't any tricks or strings. Right. The magic to make candy appear inside an overturned cup.
How did you know? You're incredible, Will. You even know about witch magic.
And that's because it's one of the most basic types of magic a witch can use.
It was just a normal cup without any tricks in it. I wanted to see. I wanted to see true magic.
Maria had a desire. She had a desire to discover the occult in others, to help her believe that there was an occult side to herself. That was why she agreed to help Beatrice with her magic. She didn't want her own toxin to ruin her chances of knowing the miracles of magic. Good. Now, try looking inside that cup.
Huh. There's candy. There's candy.
As a gift to mark my meeting with a new witch, and as a sign of our friendship, I offer this to you. This was a true miracle of magic. For the first time, I felt shame and embarrassment in my conceit. I could feel that sense of omnipotence disappear. The idea that I was the child of the Holy Ghost and the most important and special person in the world. Instead of a child of the Holy Ghost who can't do anything, I'd rather be a witch who can use magic. I, Ushiromiya Maria, wanted to become a witch. Starting off as a witch apprentice. Already, I was obsessed with Beato.
I want to become a real witch too. I want to be a disciple.
How modest. You already have an abundance of talent and diligence. Also, though it may have been different when I was at my full power, I could not take on a disciple in my current state.
So, you can't become a witch's disciple?
You cannot become my disciple. However, you can become my friend.
Really?
Yes. From this point forth, we shall be friends. Let us continue to talk of the deep and profound world of witches.
Ooh, thank you, Beato. Can I eat this candy?
No, let that be a souvenir. Instead of eating it, keep it in that lovely bag of yours.
Right. I'll eat it at home. Ooh.
Maria, that candy was brought into being by magic. Therefore, it is fragile.
If you deny my existence with that toxin of yours, it will melt and fade away.
Ugh. No. I don't want your precious magic to disappear.
Then be sure that you do not forget your meeting with me. And if you will keep some simple promises to me, I will greet you the next time you come to this island.
Ugh. I'll keep them. What are the promises?
Well, to start, each time you arrive home, wash your hands. Then, rinse out your mouth. You must not complain about this, for it is an important part of a witch apprentice's training.
I'll do it. Every day, when I come home, I'll wash my hands. I'll rinse out my mouth. If I do that, will I see you again?
I promise it. If you keep your end of the promise, your body will be cleansed and I will regain even more of my magical power. Then, the next time you come, I will show you magic of even greater splendor.
Ugh. I'll keep my promise, no matter what. I'll do it. I'll become your friend and a witch apprentice.
Your resolve is heartening, Ushiromi Maria. I hope that you will quickly grow to become full witch and my close friend.
I think that was the first time I met Beatrice.
And was that candy still there when you got home?
Yep. But I doubted a little, so it was half melted. I regretted almost doubting her. If I doubted her more, I'm sure the candy would have been completely gone. I almost lost the proof of the magical miracle that had happened before my eyes.
A hard piece of candy melted.
It wasn't hard, it was caramel, I think. It was half melted and squishy.
About what time of the year did this happen?
I'm not too sure. But I remember that the milk tea had ice in it. Why does that matter?
Never mind. Did you tell Rosa about your meeting with Beatrice?
Yep. I told everyone about it at dinner that day. Uncle Kraus laughed at me. Then, Mama, who was sitting next to me, got mad and told me to stop talking about it. Ew.
Next to you. By your family's ranking system, your seat shouldn't be next to Rosa's.
It wasn't a family conference. It was when just Mama and I came to visit. So, there was only Uncle Kraus's family, Mama, and me. And we didn't leave gaps, so we weren't sitting in the same spots as a family conference.
And Rosa was sitting in the seat next to you.
Yeah. Why does that matter?
It doesn't. Have you ever met with Beatrice outside Rokonjima?
No. After all, Beata's body is fragile, so she can't go wherever she wants. I told her she could just possess me if she wanted, but she said that she couldn't leave the island.
And after that, you met her every time you came to Rokonjima.
Yeah. We became really good friends. The more I talked to Beato, the more I realized what an amazing witch she was. She showed me wonderful magic every time I saw her. Then, she told me about a system of magic that was different from mine, and we both talked together about the mysteries of magic. I wanted to reach her level as soon as I could. I wanted to become the kind of witch Beato was.
Did you ever introduce Beatrice to your mother?
Nope. She said Mama's toxin was too strong, so they couldn't meet each other yet. Almost all adults are no good when it comes to the toxin. They're all tainted.
Was anyone other than you able to see Beatrice?
They couldn't at first. She said her magical power was weak, so her body would crumble if even a little bit of the toxin reached her. But she gathered magical power bit by bit, and eventually, she could appear in front of other people who had small amounts of toxin.
And who was that?
There weren't many of them. Just a few of the servants.
Specifically?
All of the servants here today. Who? But not Goda-san, I think.
So, there were 4 of them. Genji, Shannon, Kanum, and Kumasawa.
And Dr. Nanjo, too.
Apparently, they would sometimes come to visit Maria and Beatrice's witch tea parties. Of course, it was only for small things, like bringing them extra tea. However, they were certainly aware of Beatrice. Sorry. And even talked with her. How did the servants react to Beatrice? She was a guest who shouldn't have existed. Weren't they surprised?
No. After all, Beatrice is the other master of the mansion.
She said that the servants treated Beatrice as an honored guest. And sometimes, they were permitted to witness the new miracle of magic, along with Maria. So, on the Rokanjima of 1986, the ones who could actually meet with Beatrice were you, Nanjo, and the 4 servants excluding Goda, for a total of 6.
Yeah. Beato said that she'd need to store up much more magical power before she could appear in front of anyone else.
So, she intended to show herself in front of more people sometime in the future.
Yep. She said that the day she made all of the humans acknowledge her would be the day of her resurrection.
What does it all mean? Maria, the servants, and Nanjo had acknowledged her. She'd probably chosen those humans whose anti-magic toxin was weakest and appeared before them first. Beatrice's game must have been to steadily increase the number of humans who could recognize her, until she could make everyone on the island acknowledge her. In that case, the last person for Beatrice to appear in front of would be Battler, the one said to have the strongest anti-magical power. Does this mean Beatrice thought that Battler would be the hardest one to convince? It seems true that Battler was one of Beatrice's goals. However, if we go with Battler's chessboard thinking, we might say that Beatrice, who wanted others to acknowledge her existence, was someone who could not exist unless she was acknowledged. Battler reached this thought himself back in the first game. Yes, there was something different about the Beatrice of 1986. She's different from the Italian Beatrice, or the Ecuadorian Beatrice, both of whom certainly did exist. The Beatrice of 1986, the one whom we are so familiar with in a mysterious way, yet who has no existence. What does it mean to kill the Beatrice who has no existence? The minimum number of people required to create a universe is 2. However, Maria had said that even a single person could give birth to a universe. And yet, Maria had desired a second person. A second person to nurture the world she had given birth to alone. Because if it was born and not nurtured, it would die and disappear. let's replace the word universe with Beatrice. The minimum number of people required to create Beatrice is 2. However, even a single person could give birth to her. And yet, that single person desired a second person. A second person to acknowledge the Beatrice created by the first person. That meeting with the second person is the scene that Maria has just described. The single person who created Beatrice had looked for a second person to acknowledge Beatrice, and selected Maria. We don't need Furuto Erika's heartless reasoning to know that the teacup magic was a sleight of hand. Maria, believing in the story about the anti-magic toxin, would close her eyes whenever magic happened. Any sleight of hand would be possible while she had her eyes closed. The caramel Maria had been given as proof of her meeting with a witch had melted a little because Maria had doubted. In a season where one was likely to put ice in their tea, it was only natural for a caramel left in a bag to melt. Ushinomiya Maria. The girl who's too trusting and will accept a story easily. Beatrice appeared first in front of this girl who had, in the language of witches, very little of the anti-magic toxin. If we liken the creation of Beatrice to the laying of an egg, then when a single person creates her, it is no more than a delusion, like a chick inside the egg. If, and only if, a second person acknowledges her, the shell cracks and she appears. She only appears when the second person comes to warm the egg. When Maria acknowledged Beatrice, she finally hatched and the chick was born. In that case, Maria's sorcière, which nurtured Beatrice under system of magic, was like a nest. Beatrice had a dignified presence, called herself the Witch of Rokkanjima, and claimed to have lived 1,000 years. Thinking about the Beatrices who appeared in the previous game, this sounds less like the chick Beato and more like Beato the Elder. So, does this mean that the meeting Maria has just spoken of marks the birth of Beato the Elder? The egg itself had already been created by the first person. During the time before the meeting with Maria, it matured fully inside its shell, becoming the character with the dignified presence of 1,000 years. Then, when Maria acknowledged it, it hatched, and the Witch of Rokkanjima finally gained a form. Perhaps that moment marks the birth of the Beatrice of 1986. The younger, Chick Beato, was born out of love for Battler. Since that birth has not yet occurred at this point in time, then the birth of Beato the Elder and the existence of Beatrice at this time must have nothing to do with Battler. Are you enjoying this reasoning, Burncastle? If you are, let's at least have some applause from the audience. Great, thanks a bunch.
I have a lot of things I want to ask Beato to grant for me with magic. So, I'm helping Beato with the resurrection.
What kinds of things?
Lots and lots. Not telling.
You want to protect your mama from the Black Witch, right?
How do you know so much? You're incredible. Ugh.
And your happy world will never return without a witch's help. And that's what you think now.
Yep. I love Mama. She's so nice. I want to be with her forever. For all eternity.
Now I'd like to hear about Mariar Sorcier. What's wrong?
Don't wanna.
Huh?
I'm thirsty, so I'm gonna go get something to drink. See you later.
And she's off. Maria suddenly started acting distant, bowed her head, and left without waiting for a reply. It was a very un-Maria-like thing to do. I see. So, the game master has moved the piece. Apparently, she's telling me to ask about something different for now. At some point, Leon had started chatting with the other family members. Jessica seemed to be getting irritated at having her butt pinched so much, and George was trying to calm her down. That's wild, George. Why would you do that? Just tell Leon to keep their hands off their sister. What? What the fuck, George? I mean, he's an only child, I guess it makes sense. Jeez. Jessica and George. Guess I'll hear their stories next. Compared to Maria, I cannot pronounce that for some reason. He's looking to fill the gap in his That's a good pun, but I don't quite know what you mean. Compared to Maria, I know how to pronounce words. The anti-magic toxin is very strong in these two. At least at the beginning of the other games, they didn't acknowledge Beatrice. Maria showed me the point of view of one who believes. Now, to hear from those who don't. I don't know why there's a chapter break in some of these scenes, because it just instantly continues with where he left off. Like, same scene, I don't know where there's a break there. I guess it's like, if you treat the chapters as like, okay, you could take a break from reading now, right? If you're trying to... Because at least, in my case, right, I would... be... The actors to go to get a drink fair. Oh no, I hope you feel better soon, Lulu. And yeah, go get some rest. Get well soon. Also, hi. But sorry. When these were coming out, right, I would try to read the whole thing in one go. It's, especially as I started getting longer and longer, not the best idea. So using the chapters as a sort of like, I take a break now, you know? It's definitely a good thing. So it's good that they kept them. Alright, I hope the rest of your day is nicer, Lulu. Bye-bye. But yeah, it's a little weird to cut from this scene to still this scene. Yeah, it's literally in the same room. He hasn't moved. They haven't even, like, moved to a different part of the room.
I guess that's what marks the chapters, is what they're talking about. And you do kind of need to break it up a little bit. Ultimately, it's closer to book chapters than anything else. Alright.
So, about earlier, sorry you had to see me acting like that. I blame the future heir.
It's not going to leave a mark, is it? Talk about merciless.
Did you say something, Jessica? Of course not. I've already learned my lesson, okay?
Leon, who had apparently been chatting with the adult siblings, spun around with a smile and stared at Jessica. Looks like the older siblings firmly in control around here. Those are some sharp ears. I think I finally get this Leon person.
Yeah. The future heir's always been annoyingly sharp. Not to mention the favorite of all the adults. I'm always compared against this kid, at home and at school.
Wow, George, you are not helping, sir.
Come to think of it, Leon was the student council president for both middle school and high school, and the head of the badminton team too.
So, everywhere you go, you get compared to Leon. It doesn't work out too well for you.
I said it as soon as I got into middle school. The future heir was already the vice president of the student council. I said, if you're planning to become council president next year, that'll just put more pressure on me, so stop it. But the next year rolls around, and guess who signs up as a candidate and wins it in a landslide? Same thing happened when I started high school. I said, please, just give it a rest this time, but by that point, the future heir was already the vice president. Then, senior year, immediately president of the student council. Dad was oh so proud. Mom kept saying, now you make sure you do your best as the little sister, over and over and over and over again. Yeah. But even so, you're still proud to be Leon's little sister, aren't you? It's not like I ever thought about that. Nope, never. Not even once.
It can be tough to be compared against perfection. Still, other people are other people, and you are you. There's no need to feel dwarfed.
There isn't.
I feel like there's plenty need. Are you listening? You should live the way you want to with all you've got. Oh wait, no, he's read all the story, so he knows what he's saying here. He's saying, like, you have your own stuff going on, like, you know, performing, and you have your school friends who do appreciate you, and your sort of, like, high school personality, where you don't have to play like the typical rich girl. That's what he's saying. Okay.
Of course. But Mom and the others are always going on about how I need to follow in the footsteps of Ushiromi and Leon as the younger sibling. They keep telling me to go join the student council, go play badminton.
Don't you play in a band?
Shh. That's a secret. No one knows.
Apparently, she's keeping it a secret from her family. Interesting. People often like to blame their family for what they've grown up to be like. But even in a different world with a different family, the interests of the girl called Jessica are the same as ever. It's admirable that she has such a true and constant interest in something. I love that kind of stuff. Sorry. Oh, don't make me... This is gonna take explaining too. Peton, peton. Sweet, sweet.
What?
Shh, shh. Nothing wrong with the extraordinarily accomplished sword like Leon, but kids who act their age do have their charms. For some context, Will was referring to... I wonder if that line is the same in the original. The first part refers to the song that Jessica sings in the original version of the game, which is also a song from Toho. For copyright reasons that couldn't be on the PS3 versions. So they came up with a new song, an original one, called Sweets, Sweets, I believe. Or something along those lines. That's not the exact title, but it's part of it. So he's referring to both of the songs that Jessica sings canonically from on in episode 2 during the school festival. So he's basically saying like, I know all your secrets. So yeah. He has her on the back foot now? Yeah. Anyway. I have more factoids relating to this, but I think I actually put them in the YouTube video for the relevant episode, so go watch that, I guess. Not right now, though. That's the best way to go through life. Enjoy your youth to the fullest.
Thanks.
Apparently, no one had ever told Jessica that they approved of how she lived. And the direct way Willa put it made her turn red and hang her head in embarrassment. I want to ask you two now.
The same thing you just asked Maria-chan?
Yeah. Please tell me everything you know about Beatrice.
Well, you can see how much Maria-chan likes witches and the occult.
For her, Beatrice is a symbol to be admired, like an anime heroine.
She believes every little thing is some sort of prank caused by a witch's magic.
You are an adult. And the fact that you never say this to Maria is also very adult of you.
Of course. Childhood dreams only happen when you're a kid. I think respecting that precious experience is an adult's responsibility.
Looks like the two of us will get along well. George's position was that Beatrice was nothing more than a fairy tale. However, that phrase, respecting a child's dreams is the adult thing to do, that might be worthy of further scrutiny. When she got a candy from Beatrice by magic, Maria probably got excited and told George and the others. Then, the adults followed his lead and positively went along with her story, as adults should. However, there could be other ways this sort of reaction could occur, other than as an adult's response to a child's claims. For example, it could be an inferior's response to the claims of their superior. If Kinzo, tyrant of the Ushinomiya family, claimed that Beatrice existed and had revived, perhaps the other members of the family would positively go along with his story, as his inferiors should. And you do see that happen with Natsuhi, for instance, where it's just like, ah yes, Beatrice, respected alchemist of the family, right? Even though she obviously doesn't believe a word of it. Though Beatrice only appeared directly in front of a limited number of people, it's probably safe to say that the concept of her existence penetrated deeply within the Ushinomiya family, even among those who had never seen her.
However, no matter how deeply that concept penetrated, she was only viewed as a sort of fairy tale character. It would be necessary to transform the concept of that character from an imaginary fairy tale into reality. So, a person attempting to do this would need to perform something that could only conceivably be done by magic. And that something was the series of witch incidents that started with the nighttime window opening pranks played by Beato the Elder, and ultimately escalated to locked room murders. Beato the Elder referred to this, saying that the anti-magic power filling the mansion would be weakened bit by bit the more she made her existence known. Beatrice, why did you desire so greatly to make all others accept your existence? Because the imaginary becomes the truth if everyone accepts it? Because at that moment, the being called Beatrice will be acknowledged and will become human? In that case, before Beatrice is acknowledged by all people, she's less than human. She's furniture. Why would furniture want to become human? It feels like this was the theme of the previous game. Because they want to gain the right. Furniture cannot. ... So, they try to become human for the right to ... It really is quite simple. It's directly connected to the reason the chick Beata was born in the first place. I see. I do understand, but it's complicated. I can't ignore the heart. I feel bad for saying this at Beatrice's funeral, but truth be told, I don't know enough about Beatrice to explain her. My apologies. As far as that goes, Jessica-chan does live here, so she might know it a little more than I do. Speaking of which, have you introduced yourself to this gentleman yet, Jessica-chan?
Nah, not yet.
There's this idiot going around pinching people's butts, so I didn't really have the chance yet. A bit late, Jessica looked embarrassed for acting rudely in front of an unfamiliar guest. She cleared her throat and made a beautiful bow that didn't fit well with her normal attitude. She even lifted the corners of her skirt in a curtsy.
Pleased to meet you. My name is Jessica. Allow me to welcome you to the Ushinomiya family on this splendid day. I mean, please enjoy our hospitality and...
Willard. Call me Will.
Huh?
Huh?
What?
Jessica's greeting had been of the old-fashioned sort, so Will also treated her like an old-fashioned lady. He bent down on one knee, took Jessica's right hand, and kissed the back of it.
What?
Not expecting her greeting to be returned in such an old-fashioned and formal way, Jessica turned red and was unable to speak. However, Will had returned the greeting in what he thought was a perfectly serious way, so he didn't understand what was making Jessica's face glow. Sure. Have I done something strange?
No, I just didn't...
I want to hear what you know about Beatrice. A glow leaked from Will's right hand, which was grasping Jessica's. I'm gonna imagine him as still kneeling like throughout this entire scene. It's funnier that way. Looks like the theater-going power is having its effect on Jessica. Didn't mean for that to happen. Oh well.
Beatrice, is it
Well, I can tell you, but will you promise me something? Promise you won't laugh. Thinking about it now, it sounds more than a little crazy. What is it you know? I won't laugh. Tell me. Sure. Where should I start? To me, the Golden Witch Beatrice is sort of like one of the 7 mysteries of the Ushinomiya family. You've heard of those, right? Almost all schools have a set of tall tales or ghost stories that get passed down. Like, on some days, the piano in the music room is thought playing by itself. Or, the skeleton in the science room dances around at night. Everyone's heard of them. But, of course, that doesn't mean they believe in them. The stories about Beatrice were the same. It was just one of those strange tales about our way too big mansion. The servants would sometimes talk about seeing things or whatever during their night patrols. Sometimes, I felt a bit annoyed about them turning my home into a place for ghost stories, but I didn't pay it any more attention than that. That's how little it mattered to me. So, during my normal, everyday life, I would completely forget about the name Beatrice. Of course, when that huge portrait was first hung, I was definitely creeped out. Even I tried not to meet her eyes after dark. So, yeah, I don't blame the servants for finding it eerie. But that only lasted for a short while. I mean, I walked by that portrait every day. I gradually got used to it, and eventually bored of it. It was just a portrait that grandfather blew a bunch of money on, showing the mistress from his delusions. I was past caring. I get that. I'll bet it was different for the other relatives, who only came a few times a year. Exactly. That's why every time the family came for a family conference, I'd always stand in front of that portrait and talk about Beatrice. So I was reminded of it every year.
Ooh, Beatrice. I've come to play again. I've drawn another new spell. Take a look at it later, okay? Ooh.
You really do like Beatrice, don't you? You've been in such high spirits ever since grandfather had this portrait hung. Huh? Where's Anju? She went back with Aunt Kiri to take some medicine. Anju gets sick so easy. Totally the opposite of Battler. She's the sort that gets sick whenever she's stressed. I also used to get sick on big holidays or days when we were going to the movies. You get stressed from holidays? I mean, you know what? With a family like yours, I get getting stressed. Especially on, like, the day of the conference. That has to be really stressful, especially for a child. Maria's really tough by comparison. She's been talking about Beatrice non-stop since we left Nijima. Don't you think she's taking this a bit too far? You'd be stressed if your mom wanted you back in the womb too. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I forgot about that. Oh boy. It's one hell of a family. It's not so bad, right? It's normal for kids to have an active imagination. If a kid told you that she'd met Santa Claus, would you tell her she's a liar? Of course I wouldn't go that far. Maria kept talking to the portrait as though it was an old friend. She promised to play with it later, as if she was talking to a living human. George, a man, seemed to think that this behavior from a younger member of the opposite sex was cute. What? How does gender come into this? Sorry, that just really confused me. Oh, he's a man, so of course he thinks it's cute? What? Huh? What? What? That's kind of wild. But, to be perfectly frank, Jessica, who was the same sex as Maria, which somehow is relevant here, found this behavior a bit unpleasant, regardless of Maria's age, or gender, surely. And, yeah, realistically speaking, I think I would assume personally women are more likely to find that cute than men, but okay. At one time, even I was fascinated by anime heroines and other fictional characters. However, Maria's behavior seems to signify something more direct than mere fascination. It's something much more definite, more vivid. Am I the only one who notices something odd about her? I'll bet the others all notice too, but try to ignore it because of that adult dignity George Nissan is always talking about. Yeah, see, gender doesn't factor into it. They're all just sort of like, oh well, I shouldn't ruin this child's dreams if I point out that it's maybe slightly a little creepy. My apologies, everyone. The head is quite busy with his noble research. He wishes to eat lunch in this study today. Until a second ago, Kinzo's children were complaining that eating lunch with their father would give them indigestion. But now that they knew he wasn't coming, they started grumbling about how we should at least spare the time to come down during the annual family conferences. Then let us begin lunch, everyone. I, Goda, have made use of all my talent and experience to make sure that all of you, who have come from so far away, will be extremely satisfied with your meal. No one's stomach would fail to rumble after hearing that from the great chef Goda. By the time the splendid dishes were laid out, everyone had stopped talking about Kinzo's absence. It was now Unji's absence that was being discussed. Apparently, the stomach ache had gotten so bad that neither she nor Kiri could make it to lunch. Poor thing. Goda, make sure you talk to Kiri-san later and have some porridge made. Thanks a bunch for the concern. Really sorry about this. Seems she just can't handle much stress. That's how it is when they're young. They're cute, at least when they're not regurgitating. George used to do that all the time. He really was frail way back then. Right? Let's not talk about the past. It's not exactly a mealtime topic. Yes, George used to regurgitate all the time. What the fuck, Ava?
Ooh, poor Anji. She doesn't get to eat this yummy food.
Yeah, poor girl. Let's make sure we play with her a lot when she gets better.
Ooh, can't. She can't play with me.
What are you talking about? Why?
Because I'm gonna play with Beatrice, of course. So I can't play with Anji.
Play with Beatrice? You mean you're gonna go off on your own again to mumble to yourself and read some book? Jessica slightly regretted that she hadn't been more tactful. However, she couldn't wipe away that uncomfortable feeling she got every time Maria talked about Beatrice. And that feeling slipped out through her words.
Ooh, I don't do it on my own. Beato is there too.
Maria may have been young, but she already knew how to read a person's tone. She immediately burst out in anger, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. Normally, Rosa would have stopped her at this point. However, Rosa happened to have gone to the bathroom. So there was no one to calm Maria down, which is probably for the best considering Rosa's methods of calming her down.
Poor Jessica. You're just a clump of the toxin. With Beato's weak magical power now, she'd burn you to a crisp if she ever appeared in front of you. But she will appear before you eventually. Yes, in front of everyone else too. And then, the door to the Golden Land will open. But who knows if you'll be invited in. Of course, she will take me there, to the Golden Land. But not Jessica. Not Jessica. Not someone who makes fun of Beatrice. Not an unenlightened, stupid, confused, filthy, toxin-stained human.
Damn, Maria. When someone makes fun of Beatrice, it's like Maria becomes a totally different person. There was a theory about Maria having multiple personalities, wasn't there?
Multiple personalities?
Yeah, that probably describes it perfectly. Maybe that was Maria's idea of her ideal personality. You mean that thing about creating another self? The way you want to be?
Huh?
How do you know my motto? Don't think too hard on it. You'll just get a headache. That was something Jessica had once told Conan. She had been talking about how anyone can create another self that they can really grow to like. I think we heard those words somewhere near the beginning of the second game. Now that I think about it, some very interesting topics have been talked about since very early on. Everyone has something they really want to become, but they never do it. The restrictions on their everyday life are what made them who they are today, so they have no way of changing themselves. True. Changing yourself means changing your environment. That's not easy to do. So, my idea was to leave who I am now unchanged, and create another self to be the person I want to be. You felt suffocated, forced to live the life of a rich family's daughter, and you thought up a self that you wanted to be. But I couldn't do anything outlandish at home, of course. Nothing fun about having Mom yell at me all the time. So I made my plan. At home, I would obediently do as my parents said. But I would also create a second self to do what I wanted. At home, you do everything your parents tell you, and outside, you do what you want. That's a good way to live. You should be proud.
Thanks. And, well,
if there's something you really want to be, and you really work for it, it's easier to do than you think. I figured Maria was pretty much the same. You think Maria's doing the same thing when she gets excited and starts talking and talking? That's the person Maria really wants to be, is how I think about it sometimes. As the youngest member of the family, she is adored, but not respected. Will, you forgot about Anju. Will,
Well, you forgot about Anja, though. Rude.
Every time she learns something, there's always someone in the family who already knows it. She doesn't get to show off her knowledge about anything. Whenever she does learn something new, we try to smile and praise her. But that might have actually hurt her.
So, Maria wanted to become an authority on something. It's something that all young boys and girls who want to shake off their childhood think. It's not a bad feeling when you learn something new and your parents praise you. But when you realize that your parents already knew that thing, it sometimes feels like they're talking down to you. When a kid learns their 1-digit times table, their parents will probably praise them. However, inconsiderate parents will sometimes ask mean questions like, then what is 11 times 11? Or what is 16 times 16? I'm a grown-ass adult and I wouldn't be able to tell you that. Or something similar. If that happens, the kid will lose his feeling of accomplishment and start to feel as though they could never surpass their parents.
So it's easy to guess why Maria got interested in the occult, something no one else knew about, and started learning more and more about it. I think the person Maria wants to be is an authority on the occult who is respected by everyone.
And if she talked about the occult all the time during her everyday life, Rosa would smack her. So, like you, she's been hiding this other self most of the time.
And that's what I think she's doing at times like this. Maybe I should say that this is her real self slipping through the cracks to cover up her normal self. Actually, I've had some experience with that myself. I used to admire the image of a delicate, sheltered lady and wanted to seem more frail, so I pretended to cough a lot and it sort of became a bad habit.
Because everyone would be nice to you if you started having coughing fits.
No, whenever the conversation turned to something I didn't like or something that made me feel uncomfortable, I could do that to change the subject.
I see. And that's another self you wanted to become.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell anyone about that.
Then, just what is the other self in Maria's case? An authority on the occult who can out-argue even adults? Or else, someone who converses and mingles with witches? Either way, denying Beatrice in front of Maria is clearly taboo. In her search for something more than her everyday life, Maria had found it in Beatrice and inside herself. Then, is going to the Golden Land with Beatrice Maria's wish?
Looks like we've gone off track. Anyway, Maria kept up that tantrum until Aunt Rosa got back. It was my fault too, arguing back when I should have let her be.
And you said that there was no way Beatrice could exist?
Something like that. If she exists, then just let me see her. Of course, once Maria started crying, I realized I'd gone too far.
And then?
At the end of the family conference, I was the only one still upset. Maria acted as though nothing had happened. Instead, she went off somewhere on her own and came back talking happily about how she had played with Beatrice again. Everyone, me included, decided not to contradict her. By that time, it was best to just accept it and ignore it.
Is that all you have to say about the family conference?
About the conference, yes. What I wanted to talk about was what happened after the conference was over and everyone left. even after the conference ended, I still felt a bit uncomfortable. If Maria had just stayed mad, we'd have made up with each other and I could have put it all behind me. But since Maria got over it, it felt like I was the only one unsatisfied. Oh, milady. Why the gloomy face? Oh, it's you. It's nothing important. Did everyone make it back okay? If they're still on schedule, they should have reached the Nijima airport by now. You've done your part well, milady. I haven't done anything. It's you servants who have done a great job. Is the argument you had with Maria-sama yesterday still playing on your mind? Sorta. Come now, she's just a child. It's not something you need to worry about, all grown up and in high school. That stuff Maria was talking about, do you think it's all just kids' nonsense? About Beatrice-sama, you mean? See, even you call her Sama. Beatrice is the name of grandfather's mistress, the person he's still infatuated with. I realize that, as a servant, Kumasawa-san can't speak of her indiscreetly. Still, that's now become the name of the fictitious witch who lives in the mansion. And it's almost normal for people to call her Sama. Oh, wrong person. Beatrice is just a ghost story created by the adults to stop us from wandering into the forest. Maria just thought it was interesting one day and decided to pretend it was true. You'll end up cursed if you say such things. After all, Beatrice-sama exists. Come on, we both know that isn't true. I don't need George Nissan to tell me not to make a fuss about Santa not existing. But that doesn't mean Santa actually exists. You'll find you're wrong there, milady. Wrong? Oh, yes. The gods do dwell on all things. In the same way, Beatrice-sama dwells on this island, in this mansion. Like the gods, Beatrice-sama will do you no harm if you respect her. As you say, it is as though she doesn't exist. However, if you ever fail to show proper respect, it will most certainly come back to haunt you. Of course, that could be said of more than Beatrice-sama. If there's a curse, let's see it. I just love to meet her. Milady, you mustn't say such things.
Ah, milady.
You were splendid today.
Shannon, Goro-san. You guys know about Beatrice, right? Huh?
Well, I do know of her, of course. Why do you ask? The two looked at each other. They looked like a pair who had just heard a clueless person suddenly utter a forbidden word.
Let's have it straight. Does she exist? That ghost?
If it's a question of whether she exists or not, I would have to say she doesn't. Probably.
I really do think she does exist. Why do you say she exists? Have you ever met her? I've never met her directly, but...
Shannon talked in detail about how she would sometimes feel a strange presence, or see a silhouette while doing the midnight rounds. Jessica dismissed each example as it was given, saying Shannon must have seen it wrong or been mistaken. You haven't met her either, right, Corazon? Of course. However, well... He was being very evasive. Even a man as big as Goda was apparently unable to deny the existence of someone he'd never met. This really didn't sit well with Jessica. She was herself a resident of this mansion. They were acting as though someone else, someone she didn't know, was living here. Of course she didn't like it.
Wait a sec. Tell that one again?
Huh? You mean...
The story about the VIP room.
Goda and Shannon had been recounting several ghost stories about Beatrice. One of those drew a reaction from Jessica.
Yeah, that one. Sounds pretty cool.
Goda and Shannon glanced at each other. They hadn't been trying to talk about anything cool. The VIP room is never to be entered at 2 in the morning. Is that the one you mean?
The one about how Beatrice-sama returns to the VIP room at 2 o'clock every morning, so you mustn't go near it.
Yeah, that's it. Pretty cool. All the other stories are about people saying they heard or saw something they thought was Beatrice, but this one isn't. This one says that if you go to the VIP room at 2 in the morning, you can actually meet Beatrice-sama.
Well, I wonder.
Milady, they say that servants who speak ill of Beatrice-sama will be cursed. Furthermore, the VIP room is Beatrice-sama's room.
Even you, milady, should probably reconsider.
The VIP room is locked now, right? Where's the key? Was that key in the key box?
I think Genji-sama keeps that key by his own chair.
The master key can open it, right? Let me borrow yours.
I cannot do such a thing.
Milady, you mustn't approach an ill-omened place without reason. Hold it. Don't you go calling my house ill-omened. Anyway, I've made up my mind. If you can't give me your master key, there's still that key for the VIP room, right? Let me borrow it.
Milady.
To Jessica, it was their two expressions that felt more like an ill omen than anything else did. It wasn't the witch or the VIP room that felt foreboding to Jessica. It was them, Maria and the others who believed in witches. In the end, Jessica forced them to agree and made them bring her the key to the VIP room. A classic test of courage, to see if Beatrice would really appear in the VIP room or not.
Pretty much. Still, I wonder why I was so stubborn about it. It must have been because of my fight with such a little girl.
Of course, the weather just had to be terrible on that particular night. To be honest, I slightly regretted sticking my nose into something so pointless. But I'd already said so much, and even borrowed the key from them. I couldn't just go to Shannon the next day, let her ask me how it went, and answer, "Well, I got scared, so I gave up, teehee." That'd be just pathetic. Normally, I go to sleep long before 2 a.m. If Mom found me wandering the corridors at that time of night, she'd definitely yell at me. So I waited in my room,
staring at the hands of my clock as it ticked closer to 2 a.m. Outside, the rain was incredible and the wind strong. The swaying, rustling trees were particularly creepy. I'd complained to Shanna and Goda about making up ghost stories for my house, but I was starting to feel as though they had a bit of a place after all. The Ushiromiya mansion is huge. Honestly, I can't think of the entire mansion as my own house. As Mom says, the hallways of the Ushiromiya mansion should be treated like public roads. In other words, my own room is part of my home, but the hallways and the rooms I don't usually enter are outside. So, while part of me felt that this VIP ghost room story was ridiculous, the other part of me was so creeped out that it kept trying to convince itself that the first part of me was right. 10 to 2. If I want to greet 2 a.m. inside the VIP room, I need to have already gone in there before then. Guess it's time. Sorry, but I'm not giving up that easy. Nothing's going to happen. I know that. It'll just be a stupid waste of time for a few minutes. I touched the doorknob to the door of my room and was startled by how unpleasantly cold it was. As long as I stayed in this room, I could laugh off anything. After all, this was my room. But it wouldn't be like that in the hallway. That's outside my territory. And the doorknob and the barrier between the two was ice cold. Idiot. What are you so scared of, me? You aren't taking Shannon's, Goda-san's, or maybe Kumasawa-san's gossip seriously, are you? I'll prove it. There's nothing strange in the VIP room. The corridor was only dimly lit. The hallways were brighter before lights out. But to avoid wasting energy or something like that, we kept the lights to a minimum at night. So even though I was inside my own house, it was very obviously the middle of the night here. If Mom found out that I was wandering around at a time like this to do a test of courage in the VIP room, which I'm not supposed to go in, I'd get in a lot of trouble. To make sure she didn't find out, I tried to hide my breathing and my footsteps, so the silence felt unbelievably loud. Even though it was so quiet, the eerie sound of the wind was loud in my ears. The sound of twigs rustling. The sound of some pillar in this old mansion creaking. What's that sound like a beak tapping against glass? Though it was so quiet, all of the little suspicious sounds felt obnoxiously loud. Damn, I'm an idiot. Why couldn't I have brought a flashlight at least? A flashlight to use inside my own home? That's even more idiotic. I mumbled this to myself, hoping it would drown out the sound of the wind just a little. Then, I saw it. The door to the VIP room. The VIP room was supposedly reserved for important guests. However, as far as I knew, it had never been used. None of the guests who came to this mansion had ever been given the right to use this room. Though I'd been clutching the key all this time, it didn't feel warm at all. The icy metal tormented me ruthlessly. Maybe that was a warning. If you go back to your comfortable room and hide in your bed, this night will pass like any other. Like hell I'm doing that. I can't give up after coming this far. The key had been freezing in my hand, urging me to turn back, but the keyhole made no further attempt to stop me. all that's left is to turn the knob, open the door, and I'll be inside the VIP room. It's not like I've never been in the VIP room. Long ago, when I would often play hide and seek or go exploring, this room that I rarely entered, it seemed unusual and exciting. However, I got in trouble for going in. I was told that this room was important, so one mustn't enter without reason. After that, they made a rule of locking up unused rooms, and I couldn't go in anymore. So, it's probably been several years since I last went into the VIP room. In fact, it might be more than a decade. The inside of the room is probably different from how it was when I knew of it. Come to think of it, even then, I felt that there was something unsettling about this room. Slowly, I pushed the door open. It was light, and even after I let go of it, it kept opening by itself as though beckoning me in. Beyond it was a darkness as thick and heavy as ink. Even the dim light that seeped in from the corridor seemed bright in contrast. Swallowing hard, I stuck my head in, feeling about for the light switch next to the doorway. This was a horribly unnatural and awkward way to do it. All I really had to do was step inside and search for the switch from there. Unwilling to take even a single step into the room, I timidly stuck just my arm into the darkness, felt along the wall. There. Click. The switch, which was hardly ever used, felt stiff and lifeless. However, once the light turned on, the darkness vanished in an instant. And there, exactly as it had been, as though not a thing had changed in all these years, was the VIP room. The curtain and bed cover might have been slightly different, and maybe the chairs and the like had changed too. Still, if I had to put it in words, I'd call it the feel. The stiff, lifeless feel of this room hadn't changed. If I hang around here, someone might find me. I'd rather not have Mom find me here. I readied myself, and though I hadn't even been able to bring myself to enter this room with the lights out, I finally entered. As soon as I closed the door, I felt an oppressive, suffocating sensation. Alright. I've shut myself in the VIP room. Come out, Beatrice. What time is it now? I looked around the room, but I couldn't see any clock. I'm not in the habit of wearing a watch around the house. Damn. Now I'm not sure what time it is. Still, I know it's only a few minutes at most. I tried to suppress my desire to use going to get a clock as an excuse to run away from this place. Even so, just standing around like this was boring. When I looked around again, searching for something to sit on, I found something strange. What's this? It had been placed on the side table next to the bed. If this room had been used often by someone, I'd have thought it was just one of their personal belongings. But there was no one living in this room. So, it was impossible for this to belong to the room's owner. What is this, an offering or something? Creepy. It did look like an offering. A small French doll was sitting on the side table. The doll's hair was gold. It was wearing a black dress. Just who managed to find this doll and where?
There's no doubt that someone placed the doll here to symbolize Beatrice. Does that mean this doll is supposed to be the owner of this room or something? And as though it was an offering to that owner, there sat a small plate with several cookies and wrapped chocolates. It was all set out neatly, and there was no dust piled up on the doll. In other words, both the doll and the offering were being taken care of on a regular basis by the servants, and kept in good condition along with the rest of the room. Taken care of? No, it was more than that. It looked like an offering, no, like some sort of worship. A prayer saying, "Please don't curse us." So while the doll was eerie enough by itself, psychologically, it was even more unnerving to think about how it must have been kept safe and worshipped in a place like this. Stupid. Am I supposed to clap my hands together and say, "Please don't curse me"? Jessica forced herself to look away from the bizarre doll. She couldn't bring herself to sit on a bed that wasn't hers. Then again, she didn't really feel like sitting down on a chair either. She had lost any desire to sit on anything in this room. Wandering about aimlessly, I peeked out the window through the gaps in the curtains to stare at the dark, rainy night. What the hell am I doing? Hanging about in the VIP room this late just because that fight with Maria is still eating at me. This is beyond stupid. I'm disappointed in myself. Beatrice, huh? Just when did that strange witch start living in this mansion? Grandfather's always yelling about Beatrice. Since it's apparently the name of his dead mistress, people started talking about how her ghost must haunt this mansion. There's that kid's horror story about the witch in the forest, which might be a ghost story made by the adults to stop the kids from going in there. The portrait grandfather had hung in April was really striking. And there was also that weird epitaph. The creepy words on that, which sounded like some sort of ritual with human sacrifices, made the name of Beatrice seem all the more unnerving. At some point, those stories mixed together and they now say that the witch Beatrice exists. I don't believe in Beatrice. Because I know she's just a fictional person made by the fusion of a few horror stories. The Beatrice, who was grandfather's mistress, probably did exist. But she wasn't a witch. The story of the witch of the forest was made up by the adults to prevent their kids from getting lost in the woods. But that was just a made-up story, not reality. In fact, I've heard that kids were once threatened about wolves living in the forest. Apparently, the kids realized that wolves couldn't exist on the island, so it was changed to the witch. When the portrait was hung, that once vague character suddenly had a face. And people acted as though she'd been around since long ago. That's right. It's all a ghost story someone made, a fiction. And Maria calls Beatrice her best friend, and the servants worship her like a household shrine. I just don't get it, and it creeps me out. The sudden ring of the phone made me jump so hard I thought my heart would explode. There was a phone on the bedside table across from the one with the doll, and it was ringing noisily. However, I was only surprised by the first ring. By the time it had rung 3 times, I'd regained my cool enough to grumble about this being a prank done by someone trying to scare me. If I rush to pick it up, I'll probably hear someone laughing at me saying, "Were you scared?" I thought about ignoring it instead, but it kept on ringing incessantly. It's a pretty loud sound of going on and on at this late at night. If Mom somehow manages to hear it from her room, I'm screwed. Okay, I've got it. Might as well say you scared me or whatever. I decided to pick up the receiver. I'll just say, that surprised me. And maybe follow that up with, looks like Beatrice didn't show up after all. After all, this is my victory, in a sense. Hello?
Ooh. Hi, Beatrice.
Huh? Maria? I don't get it. Did I hear that wrong? Why would Maria be calling here? Hello?
Thanks for teaching me that fun song last time. In return, I'm gonna sing you a song, Beatrice. I just learned this one. Ooh.
The voice, the intonation, the manner of speech, all of it clearly belonged to Maria. But what's she talking about all by herself? Maria just kept on talking happily as I stood there, stunned and unable to interrupt. Eventually, Maria started singing an old familiar kid song that even I knew. I don't get it. Maria, hello? Wait a sec, stop singing. What's going on? I don't get it. Hello? The voice, the lights, everything disappeared. In the pitch black, I couldn't see anything, couldn't tell what was happening. I don't get it. What's going on? What the hell was that? Does being in darkness really slow us humans down so much? I know it's dark, but I really do have absolutely no idea what just happened. What was that shuffling sound just now? I'm not sure. I can't explain it. It was a loud sound like someone crawling out of bed. I wouldn't say something as non-committal as I felt like I heard it. I wouldn't say something as vague as I sensed a presence. I definitely heard it, right next to me, clearly. However, there was no change to the bed. No one had been sleeping there in the first place, and the sheets were still perfectly straight. Someone had crawled out of the bed and had laughed in a creepy voice before leaving the room. That's what it felt like. Felt like? I'm here and the bed's right there. I'm not only in the same room, I'm right next to it. So, why am I so unsure about what happened just a few seconds ago? I gripped the receiver, which had gone completely silent, and waited there, alone, unable to move, in a quiet room that seemed exactly identical to the one I had first entered. Huh? What? If nothing had changed since the beginning, I could just pretend that the last minute or so didn't happen. However, if something had changed, that would be proof that something really did happen. The hell? Where did it go? Did it fall to the floor? No, it's not there. No matter where I look, from whatever angle, it's not there. Though the offering plate with the cookies and chocolate is still there, the thing they were being offered to, the doll, is gone. No way. Then, what just happened? Is the Beatrice-sama doll supposed to have cackled out loud and left the room? No, that crawling sound was too loud to have been made by a doll. It was a noisy sort of sound, like a kid playing with a blanket and using it as a cape. And then... what? Is that Beatrice-sama doll supposed to have turned into a human and then run cackling from the room? No, wait. After that, nothing happened. The doll alone disappeared, and nothing else changed. In a VIP room that remained completely unchanged and was filled only with the sound of wind and rain, I stood there, too shocked to move. Did you ever find that doll? I looked everywhere, even under the bed. I literally crawled in there looking for it, but I didn't find it. Just what do you think happened in that room? I don't think it was actually Beatrice-sama's curse. It might have been a prank done by the servants. A prank? Maybe they recorded Maria's voice on a cassette tape or something ahead of time. Then they called at exactly 2 a.m. and pushed the play button. They could have cut the power of the breaker or something. Then someone who had been hiding in the VIP room beforehand would make a creepy laugh, take the doll, and leave. If that was how it happened, everything does fit. Doesn't sound like you're really convinced it happened that way. Can you blame me? I mean, if that was just a prank to scare me, it was way too elaborate. They made Maria sing beforehand and recorded it. Then, someone called the VIP room and replayed that recording. Then, someone waited until exactly the right time and tripped the breaker for the VIP room. To turn off the power to the VIP room, you'd have to go down to the basement. There's a breaker box down in the boiler room. There's no phone line down there, so you'd need a different person to play back Maria's tape. And you'd need another person to hide in the VIP room and cackle before leaving. And just how long would this last person have to hide in the VIP room beforehand? How long would they have to hide in the pitch black VIP room? Under the bed, for example, waiting to scare Jessica, who might or might not come. There's no way it could be a witch's curse. But still, imagining that so many people planned everything down to the slightest detail, and waited for several hours in the darkness just to scare me? To me, that's even creepier. I agree. I'd much prefer a curse. Did you ask the servants about that later on? What's the point? They just play dumb, of course. And there had to have been at least 3 of them. On that day, only Genji-san, Gora-san, Kumasawa-san, and Shannon stayed the night. So 3 of those 4 helped out with that creepy prank? It doesn't make sense. That's why I couldn't ask about it. True. It had been a strange experience for her, but it wasn't something completely impossible for humans to do. Even so, it really must have been more unnerving to imagine a large number of people planning so carefully just to scare Jessica. It's no surprise that she found this scarier than Beatrice's curse. Do you still believe the servants pulled a fast one on you? No. I probably just freaked out and mistook what I saw and heard. The doll probably just fell somewhere and I just had trouble finding it. Are you trying to say you imagined the whole thing? Other than the doll disappearing, there was no other proof that anything had changed. Later on, I talked to Maria and she said she didn't know anything about that song or the phone call. I don't know if she was lying or not, of course. Anyway, what happened that night is just something I thought happened. And there's no proof of any kind. That's ironic. Even if you had met Beatrice directly, you wouldn't have been able to prove that either. For a while I was pretty rattled about it, but as time went on, I began to think that lightning or something had shut off the power for a second and spooked me. Maybe one of the trees in the garden fell while making rustling sounds, which I mistook for someone crawling out of bed because I was already scared. And the laugh? Maybe some strange bird? Anyway, I might have misheard something to get that sound. I act tough, but it turns out I'm actually an unbelievable coward. That's why I let my imagination get a hold of me. I decided to think about it that way and kept firmly repeating it to myself to help me forget everything that happened that night. So it all remains in darkness. People are actually pretty good at forgetting things if they try. Ever since that night, I feel uncomfortable every time I hear the words Beatrice. But I try hard to not let it show on my face. That's all. I can't tell you any more than that. It's really embarrassing, so please don't tell anyone. I don't want them knowing what a huge chicken I was. You got it. I have one last question. About the VIP room? No. About the dining hall. The dining hall? On the day of the family conference, just before your ghost story, all the relatives were gathered in the dining hall, right? Yeah. Except Valor hadn't come back to the family yet. Everyone else was there. Everyone except Grandfather, of course. And Anja wasn't in the room because of her stomachache. Her seat was next to yours, wasn't it? Yep. Was that the seat to your right? Yeah, the seat to my right. Why does it matter? Wait, that's strange. Why did the... That's enough. Try not to think. You'll just get a headache. What's up, Jessica? Why the confused look? Well, right. Left. Huh? You're so weird. How's it going, Will? Have George Nissan and Jessica told you anything useful? A bit. That ghost story about Beatrice was pretty fun. Ghost story? What are you talking about? The one about Beatrice's ghost appearing in the VIP room at 2 in the morning. Pretty scary story. I've never heard of that. I don't know who put that out there, but that'd be really rude, making up ghost stories about the woman our head is indebted to. A model answer. What? Do you know about the epitaph, Leon? An epitaph? What epitaph? That epitaph by Beatrice's portrait. My apologies, but I have no idea what you mean. Behold the Sweetfish River, running through my beloved home of old. Just what are you talking about? So, in your world, no, in this world, the portrait exists, but not the epitaph. Of course, I know about the large portrait of Beatrice hanging in the entrance hall, but I haven't heard of this epitaph. What is it? That's a very interesting difference. You've lived on Rokanjima all your life, right? Of course. What's your point? When you were a little kid, you were warned not to go near the woods. Yes. They always said to stay away since it would be dangerous if we got lost. Because a witch lives in the forest? A witch? What witch? The Golden Witch, ruler of Rokanjima's night. Beatrice. Beatrice is a woman to whom grandfather owes a great debt. Don't you think it's a bit rude to treat her like a witch or a ghost? You don't know about the witch Beatrice. I know about the Beatrice who came here in a submarine along with the gold, and about her daughter, who was raised in the hidden mansion. We just learned about those two together a short while ago, right? Where does a witch come in? I see. So that's it. Then, how did they scare you to keep you from going into the woods? They said that wolves lived in the forest. Not a witch, but wolves. Of course. Very interesting. It isn't interesting to me. What are you talking about? What is this witch? I'm just talking to myself. I have one more question. Please, go ahead. During the family conference, who sits to your right at the dining table? My little sister, Jessica, sits across from me. The next in rank is Aunt Eva-san. So, George Nissan is the one to my right. What's your point? I get it. It's all mashed together in a confusing mess. But it is interesting. Well, I don't have a clue. Wait, when did the eye patch appear? What? That wasn't my intention. Let me just check something real quick, like... It might have appeared halfway through, okay. I guess I was talking with my hands again. And then it picks up, and I set them as toggles, which might not have been the smartest idea, but... You know, because I constantly check... We'll toggle it on accident. Alright. I think I'm gonna call it here for tonight, because we finished a chapter. Yeah, I do the same thing. You gotta, you know, you need the hands for emphasis, let's be real. It helps a lot. Alright. Like, literally the only reason this model doesn't have hands is because it would be too time consuming. I just don't have that kind of time. Because it will take like a week or two at least to set up. And I mean like full-time working, and I have an actual job now, so... Yeah, it's so much easier to express myself with gestures that, you know... It is kind of... I do kind of miss it with the VTubing stuff, but... The hand tracking isn't so accurate that it would be worth the time investment, so... No hands for this boy. Just accidental toggling of effects that I also forget to toggle on purpose, so I guess it's fine. It works out. There's balance in the force. Alright. Today was, we didn't
learn a whole lot of new stuff, I feel like. Or did we? Some stuff is almost spelled out here. Yeah, the seat positions turn out to be relevant. You can figure out some stuff based on that. We'll kind of nudge this along there with what kind of direction to be thinking in. So I'm sure you can figure that out if you kind of mentally map it out, or maybe even write it down. That's cool. I'll be honest, until they brought it up in this episode, I hadn't thought about that at all in my first read through. Just paid zero attention to it. But yeah, it is pretty interesting. Yeah. There's a lot of more subtle hints in here. I mean, you were totally right in thinking that it would become relevant at some point. You were absolutely correct. Man, there's stuff like that, which is a little more spelled out. Then there's some stuff that's like almost like, hey, this is what it means. Did you get what it means, people? Readers, are you following me? And then there's some other stuff that if you were to look back on it after you know the whole story, it's gonna make you go, oh, I get it, you know. So I had a couple moments where I just gasped out loud and I could not control it. I just went I had a couple of those. Yeah, it's that kind of story. You're just gonna be like, whoa, now the puzzle pieces all, like, it all comes together, and it's gonna be really satisfying to watch the rest unfold, I think. And yeah, I've mentioned it before that this episode is a little more on the nose than the others. Stuff gets kind of spelled out, but not like fully, not to the point where it doesn't really respect us as the readers anymore, and there is still enough to be thinking about and to kind of figure out for yourself, and yeah, it strikes a good balance there, I think. You think it's slowly starting to make more sense? That's great. I would love to see... I would love to hear what you think is going on. Once you kind of feel like... If you ever feel ready to like share your theories, you know, please do in the Discord. If not, that's okay too, of course. And yeah, we're gonna continue with all of this next week. It should be really interesting. And yeah, big time content warning for the next one, because some of the stuff is gonna come up. We're gonna have to deal with one of the you know, the new one. But again, nothing gets discussed in like detail. It's not graphic or anything like that, but do keep it in mind. Because that's kind of what we're all sort of, you know, that's what we're doing on this for, to figure out what the fuck's going on. And yeah, feel free to share when you have something coherent. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say for tonight, so I'm gonna go. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, I'll pop on some music for your enjoyment and mine. And yeah, gonna be back on Monday with another stream. I don't know what I'll be streaming yet, so that's gonna be exciting and mysterious. then on Wednesday we're gonna continue. And oh boy, we're gonna get to episode 8 pretty soon, I think. Because this is one of these shorter episodes, or arcs, I should say. I always mix those up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just the rest of this one, the next one. It's gonna be great. And thank you for being here, and ow. Thank you for being here on the ride with me. Alright, see you next time. I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good night. I hope you have a good week. See you next time. Bye-bye.